What's a happening, nerds? Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to do a video. I've been thinking about doing it off and on for the last few months. Just the other day, or yesterday actually, marked my third month here on the YouTube. And we all watch these channels and these videos, and grading dominates the content, and because of that, I've kind of, I don't know, shied away from it, especially with how grading and its importance has evolved within my collection. But I mean, it is what it is. Just to kind of preface everything moving forward is I'm not here to make any judgments, make any profound opinions, or anything like that about grading itself. I'm just kind of explaining, like I said, the importance of grading and graded cards within my collection as time has gone on, and where I currently stand. And maybe it's something that you kind of resonate with. Maybe you don't. Maybe you think I'm an idiot. I mean, it is what it is. But I've touched on it a little bit here and there in my previous videos. But either way, I'm just going to kind of move along, and hopefully this doesn't take too long. I did bring a box of cards with me, here to California, so that way I could just have at least some cards to look at. Have cards to, show and talk about, tell stories. So with that being said, I've collected pretty consistent over the years, but it was not until late 2019, early 2020 that grading really kind of like entered my mind. I did a patrol on one of our cutters down in Florida for a couple months, and there was a guy on board, big sports guy, big sports car collector. Anyway, so that relationship kind of evolved. He was getting ready to transfer, and my wife and I were looking at trying to buy a house there in the Clearwater area, and it just so happened he had a house that he was putting up for sale. So long story short, I ended up buying his house. But it was kind of like during that time, that he and I kind of talked a little bit more about baseball cards, everything like that. And so he really is the person that really kind of put grading more into focus, or I don't know a better term right now. But anyway, for collecting. Because prior to that, I had zero graded cards. I didn't really know what it was about. Had no interest in it whatsoever. You've seen it, like the majority of my collection's ungraded. It's that Ozzie Smith collection, and I don't need graded Ozzie Smith cards for the binder. So then anyway, I do remember asking him. I was like, I had some cards, and a few of those more I'll show later. But I was like, do you think that this one, I should send this in for grading? And this is my childhood Ozzie Smith card. And his opinion was like, yeah, you should send it in, man. But at the same time, it's like, the grades, like, especially somebody naive like myself, where the number matters. Like, you trust these companies to have accurate, consistent grading. And I was just like, but what if it comes back what if this came back like a 6? Oh, well, that's not a really good grade, right? And so I was just like, I don't know if I want to send it in for grading, because this is gonna sound dumb. If PSA or another company were to give this a lower number, it's like, would it affect how I feel about this card? And like I said, I overthink things a lot, and it's just like, I don't know. Not only that, but you have to send it off, and it's just like, do I really want this card out of my possession? It's like, so I started going on the YouTube or not the YouTube, but the eBay, and I start looking around, and I see this, and I do need a preface with this card. It was before the boom, before COVID, and all that stuff, like right before, and I picked up this Ozzie Smith card, and you see it's an 8. Yeah, it's an old label, which I'll kind of talk about more later on. But yeah, I literally went onto the eBay and was just like Ozzie Smith, 1979 tops, PSA 8. Like, because the 9s were like super expensive, 10s you don't ever see. And it's like 7. It's just like, oh, but this is my favorite card of all time. I need one better than a 7. Like, these are things that I'm thinking. And again, as this video goes along, I don't know how many times you're gonna say, man, you're kind of an idiot, but whatever. And so I was looking at PSA 8, and I missed out on one, but then I got this, and I was like, I got it for like $100, which in today's world, that's a steal. Old label, new label, not. But but this is my first graded card that I had ever purchased. And you're like, well, why were you looking at PSA? And it's like, well, again, talking to a buddy of mine, it's like, well, PSA is like the company, you know what I mean? And so it's like, well, if Ozzie Smith's my favorite player, I need to get a PSA card of my favorite player. And, so I did that. But yeah, like I said, the end of it was I just could not let a grading company affect how I feel about this card. And I think that, that's like a personal problem. If I'm going to let a company affect how I feel about a card, it should not do that. But like I say, go, rewind 5 years. And that's like the things I was thinking about. And so, okay, well, after that, it was just like, well, now I want to get a PSA copy of my childhood heroes. So, Al McInnes and Isaac Bruce. And I've showed those cards on my channel before. Did that. And then it just kind of keeps snowballing, right? I'm sure that happens for everybody. It's like, you get one, then you gotta get another. You gotta get another. You gotta get another. It's like if you have kids and whatnot, if you give a mouse a cookie, that story. So then it expanded upon like, okay, what about some of my other favorite players? So I got this Kurt Warner here. And like, this is my opinion, like his first card. Like, there's cards in '99 that came out, but anyway, this is like the one that I remember when he exploded. So I got that. What about some other great players? Stan Musial. Got that. And so then a little bit of time goes on. I'm still stationed in Clearwater at the time, and there was this card shop right there on 19. It's like Wonder Sports Cards or something of the sort. Yeah, I'm sure like a lot of our Florida friends, like Blue Rock and whatnot, they probably know the shop that I'm talking about. So like I said, I was like, oh, I want to grade some cards, and in my opinion, I had some like big cards to me. But I had never sent in a card before, so I definitely didn't want to like package it all up myself and send it off. Do I know what I'm doing? Again, overthinking it. So I went to the LCS. It was only like a few miles from my house, and they did grading submissions. And this LCS in particular, they partnered with Beckett, who again, go back to 2020. What was Beckett within the collectorverse universe ecosystem? And I would go into the eBay and whatnot, and it was PSA and it was Beckett, PSA Beckett. Like, that's what you would predominantly see. And so it's like, well, Beckett's a reputable company. I remember the magazines from when I was younger, and it's like, I'll go ahead and just submit them into Beckett. Like, I didn't really know a whole lot, and I'm not a reseller or things like that. So I was like, I'm gonna send in a few cards to kind of like put my, dip my toes in the water. And one I had showed on this channel before, it was 2005 Fleer, Yadier Molina, Adam Wainwright, Evan Rust prospects card. Because I just think it's just a super cool card. I love it. It's not a rookie card or anything like that, but it's still really cool. But then I sent in these two cards, which I'll show. And if I'm jumping back and forth throughout the video, just bear with me. But when this guy broke our hearts and left St. Louis, there was only a few cards of his that I kept. But so Albert Pujols, he is definitively the greatest player I've ever watched play. Certainly for the Cardinals. I didn't get to watch Stan Musial, right? And as much as I love Ozzie Smith and he's great, well, Pujols, oh my God. And so I, my 2001 Topps traded Albert Pujols card. So I sent that in. And then by this point in time, the Chiefs kind of exploded too. But way back before Taylor Swift, before the Super Bowls, when only Chiefs fans knew who this was, Travis Kelce. And I picked this card up for like 20 bucks. This card, and this will matter later on, is my grandmother got me this card. So I send those in, right? And I don't have jeweler's loops, and I'm not looking at them too close. I'll never do that. But the grades came back. The Molina Yachty card, or Molina Wainwright card, that came back at 9.5. And it's like, wow, that's a great card. That's a great grade. Well, my Pujols came back an 8.5, and the Kelce came back 8.5. And I remember seeing those, and I was kind of like, ugh. Right? Because grade matters, right? And it's like, I was hoping they'd at least get 9s. And it's like, which I don't have any friends, but if I show my friends this 8.5, they're going to be like, ugh, really? It's just an 8.5. And what's kind of dumb about this card is it's a variant, number 9/99. So it's like, there's only so many of these out there. And this is quite an expensive card these days because of, what's transpired since then in his career. And then this card, you can say, it's condition sensitive, but you can find 9s all day long of that card. And this is very common card. There's hundreds on eBay, I'm sure, a day. And but it's just like, again, going back to the Ozzie Smith, letting a company affect how I feel about a card. And I let Beckett affect how I felt about these cards. And it's just like, I felt kind of gross too, right? It's like, you let a third-party company change how you feel about a card. And, there's been questions on the YouTube. I think Mancini asked it. It's, do you upgrade cards? And I actively looked at upgrading this card. Oh, that's so dumb. So dumb in my mind. For me in this specific card, right? My grandmother got me this card. Like, what the hell should it matter? And I let it matter. And it's just like, why would I buy another copy of a card that I already have when there's other cards I want? It's like, oh man, so many feelings, so many feelings. Well then, so I kind of moved on from that a little bit, and it's like, well, okay, I'm gonna keep collecting cards. And then it's like, I found myself only looking for graded cards. I want to keep collecting cards, keep collecting. And so like when I was doing my eBay searches and stuff like that, it was looking for graded cards. I would look for a player, a set, a year, what have you. And I would always attach PSA, or by this point I have like SGC, BGS. And so like, that's why like this Bob Feller right here is an SGC. Because I thought, the card should be graded. If the card's not graded or not worth being graded, is it worth collecting? Again, a very dumb thought process that I had. And again, another moment where you're thinking, man, you're an idiot. But so I was definitively targeting graded cards. And this is just an example. I have a bunch of others. Fast forward a little bit, and again, I'm watching the YouTube. You could definitely tell that Beckett had like fallen off. I don't know the reason behind that. I'm not well engaged on like hobby news and what have you. But SGC during the pandemic really kind of exploded. I remember watching that, and that's because their turnaround times super fast. Their cost was better, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many reasons why people fell in love with SGC in recent years. And so this was, we're coming up on 2 years ago now. I was like, I want to start sending in more of my cards, right? I have a bunch of ungraded cards, and it's like they're really cool. Again, like I'm actively collecting graded cards. I don't want to rebuy cards that I already have. So I was like, I really want to start sending cards in. And there was cards that I had for a long time that I sent in. So maybe you've seen this one before, but my 1978 Ozzie Smith Family's Fun Centers. I bought this back in like 2003. I bought it for like $20 or something. Sitting got graded, got a 7. Again, I'm super excited, man. That's an awesome number. That's a collector grade number. Like we've heard these terms, and like I was pumped about that one. And I sent in this red Shandy's triple red. And this one I actually didn't really care about what the grade was. I just thought it was a really cool card. This card, so I had a copy, but it was part of my Cardinals Hall of Fame museum collection, and I wanted another copy because, especially learning more about him, he's one of my favorite players. So I want to have a graded copy because that matters to me. It mattered to me at the time for sure. And so I'm going online, I'm looking, and I'm looking for PSA 5, SGC 5. Why 5? Because that's the collector grade. Again, like these are all these dumb things that entered my mind and affected my collecting. And it's just one of those things, like I already had a copy of the card though, and to spend that much money, which for me was an expensive card because you're talking about like $100-$120. And it's like, oh. So then what I decided to do is like, I'm going to get an ungraded copy. I'm going to send it in myself. As long as the card looks like I want it to look, which I don't even know what that means. It was like when I see it, I see it. And I'll send it in myself. Again, I was searching for a 5. Then I went the ungraded route and whatnot. And it was this Ken Boyer rookie card. Look, I got a 6. And it's like, wow, it's great. It's great. Pumped about that. I was looking for a 5, got a 6, way cheaper because I did the whole ungraded, graded myself thing. And then I had gotten a huge card, and it's like this one, I definitively do not care what the grade is. I just want it graded because that's important. It protects it. It does all these things that you've heard people like why they grade. And I did buy into that. And it's my usual 48 Bowman rookie card. And yeah, I got a 1, and I expected that. But I didn't care because now it's graded, it's authenticated, it's protected. Like, yes. And same thing with like protecting a card, because like this oversized card. So, you fast forward a little bit, I picked up a few more cards, like my 52 Bowman usual. Sent it in to get graded. Yeah, I came back a 1. Like I said, I didn't care what the grade was. but with my schedules, like the last 2 years, it's like I'm home, then I'm not home, then I'm underway, blah 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 blah. Like I said, I sent all these cards in to grading through my LCS there in Edwardsville, Illinois. So, Good Sports. I've shown them on a video before. So then with that, it's always kind of like I'm going to game plan. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna pick some cards. I'm gonna send them in next time I'm home, right? Because SGC's turnaround was 2 weeks, so I could get home because I'd be home for like, let's say 3 weeks. Get home, send them in, get them back before I have to go back to California or go back to Seattle. And so, like I said, these cards were over a few different submissions. These are just examples, and but within the last 2 years, I'm watching a lot more YouTube. I'm watching a lot more channels. I'm watching a lot more discussions and content about grading, and I've that's changed how I incorporate grading within my collection. Um, it's there's a couple things first that it's just like, okay, the time, having to send the cards out and they're going to be gone for X amount of time. That I've always had a lot of heartburn with is like letting my cards go, and postal service is what it is. It's like, oh, I want my cards back. There's the protecting the cards, how they affect the value and things, but more importantly, it's the cost of grading. At the time when I sent these in, it was $15 a card. I do not know what the cost of grading is now. Because like I said, I don't keep up with it. I do know that the cost has been rising, but the cost of everything has been rising. So that's kind of whatever. And when I have a whole lot of cards that I want to get, at one point in time, I thought I was going to grade all of my mutual cards. Well, how many mutual cards are there? Like you see, well, at least my collection, the Bowmans and the Tops, I did a couple videos on those. And it's like, if I graded all of those, I did the math at one point, but it would cost me what, $300 to grade all those, just to throw a number out there. And it's like, well, $300, what can I do with that? I could complete my whole Yachty Topps Gold run with that. I could pick up some really cool obscure Ken Boyer cards. I could pick up some really cool Red Shaney's cards, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like the list goes on and on and on, right? And so like the two biggest things I've had heartburn with is like the sending the cards off and then being out of my collection temporarily, hopefully, right? And the cost of grading. But yeah, I'm watching all this content, and it's SGC got bought out. What's their future? There's the inconsistencies of PSA, and a 4 that looks like a 6, or you send it in one day and it's a 4, and you send it in another day it's a 7. Going back to my Ozzie Smith, it's an old label. It wouldn't get that great today, and like all these things. Again, Beckett at one point was number 2, and they're not anymore. Are they even number 4? There's companies that I've learned about that have completely gone by the wayside that used to be reputable. What is it? GAI, I think is a company that I've heard people talk about, people who've been grading for a long time. And so there's so much noise around grading, and then like, is it a scam? Is it this? Is it that? It's for flippers. It's like, there's all this damn noise about grading, and you watch all these videos, and it's like there's channels that you love, and they're doing a grading video, and it's just like, oh, another grading video. I understand that, and I'm a hypocrite because I'm making one right now. Anyway, and it's just like been slowly chipping away. It's just like, I don't care. I don't care about grading. You know, it's like this card right here. I didn't care what the grade was. So why am I sending it in for grading? Okay, well, you can say authenticity, but I could have just left the little eBay thingy on there because I wasn't worried about its authenticity. I already got authenticated, whatever. You know, so that's why you see a card like this, my Red Shandy's rookie card. It's not graded. But what I can tell you is a year and a half ago, this card would have definitely, I would definitely would have sent it in to get graded. But now, I just don't care. You know, think about this too, right? So a lot of they've come out with a lot of really cool products, which has also kind of changed my perspective. Is like this card looks very nicely centered within this one touch. They make one touches just for this set or this size of a card, or you can get this sleeve that it fits perfectly into. And so that's another thing. It's like, okay, well, you know, why do people get cards graded? To protect them. And that is a very true statement. But these one touches protected just as well in my mind. And especially as these products are expanding, they're going so much more beyond the normal size, the vintage size. There's tobacco size ones, there's this and there's that. And then not only that, but you get these perfect fit sleeves. Because one of the things I did have an issue with the magnetics is in popping open, or the magnet itself coming free from the plastic. But now because of this perfect fit sleeve, it's not going to come open. This card is just as protected as this card for sure. Kind of going back to the Travis Kelce card, it's like there's only 99 of these out there. So if I wanted to find one, it'd be pretty hard to do, at least this variant. I understand the parallel games, but it's artificial scarcity, right? So really, what does it matter what the grade is? You know, kind of like, well, I do have a Yadier Molina graded card because he's one of my favorite players. I got to get a PSA copy, blah, 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 that I talked about earlier. What about this card? Now, granted, it's not numbered to 99. There's 2,004 of these, but so far, far less than other variants of this card. But what's the point of grading this? There's only so many out there. Like, let's say I wanted to resell this card. Well, I could put a number to it based on comps, this, that, whatever, and I could wait it out until somebody pays that price, because if they want it, it's not like you can just go get one every day of the week. So that's why my collecting is, you know, like I said, I'm leaving my, you know, the rest of my mutuals ungraded because, you know, the cost to grade them all. Thought I had some more good examples, but you know, that's why I like my Yachty gold cards. Not going to grade those. And so that's just kind of where I've gotten. It's just, you know, do I care what the value of my cards are at this moment in time? No. What if something happens to me? I don't have a ton of cards, so the liquidity of them and what would my family do with them? Whatever they want to do with them, they could keep them, they could give them away, they can sell them, they could whatever. Again, I don't have a ton of cards. I already talked about there's plenty of ways to protect my cards. You know, it's just the number. You know, when we say collect the card, not the grade, I am definitively doing that. You know what I mean? They don't have numbers, you can't collect the grade, right? But like I said, I know this has been going on for a while. That doesn't mean I don't buy graded cards. I still buy graded cards. Like I saw this one in my LCS and I was just like, oh, I want that. It's on my list. What they had was a graded copy, and so I got it. There are times where I feel like being a dummy when it's not expensive and buying a graded copy of a certain card. I still do that. I'm not sending in cards for grading, that's for sure. I'm not prioritizing graded cards, that's for sure. As a matter of fact, Um, I wanted these two cards ungraded. Like I specifically targeted those cards to be ungraded. It is what it is. But that's where I'm at with grading now, and that's kind of like how my grading journey has been the last 5 years, where it went from it seemed like it went like this, you know. But like I said, a lot of that has to do with education, and a lot of that has to do with just frustration, irritation. I definitively know I am never going to put myself in a position where I felt the way I felt about these cards at one moment in time. Now my feelings have changed about these cards, thankfully, and it wasn't forced; it just organically happened. I could have bought a 9 in this and moved along, but I didn't. Um, but I never want to be in that position again. That's for sure. I know I watch a lot of the grading reveals, and you see and hear the disappointment in people's voices and on their faces when cards come back lower than what they expected or what they hoped. And I do feel kind of bad for them. It's like, oh, that really sucks that they feel that way about that card. They put themselves in that position, similar to how I put myself in that position. But it is what it is. If you stuck with me this long, it's like I said, I'm not putting down grading at all. There's people that I enjoy very much watching their content, that they love grading, they love doing it, and good for them. I still watch their videos, and the biggest thing I hope is that they're happy with their cards. I'm happy, or I hope that they're happy with the grades that they're getting back, et cetera, et cetera. And so like I said, I still watch all that stuff, I will continue to watch all that stuff, and I'll continue to cheer for them and how they collect their cards, because it's how they want to collect it. They want it graded, they want it slab, because slabs are pretty damn cool. Don't get me wrong. Mag Pros have kind of changed that. Like I have one Mag Pro, that's it. Maybe my Yachty cards I'll do Mag Pros if I can come up with like a sweet label. I don't know. I haven't done that yet. This is one of my funnest cards ever. It's a made-up card. But anyway, like I said, I hope that all makes sense. It's something I've wanted to put on video for a little bit now. Like I said, off and on. But it's part of my collecting journey, right? And grading dominates within the collecting universe. It dominates here on the YouTube. It's not going away. I could sit here and say that grading's dumb and it needs to go away, and that's not going to happen. I don't think that, for one. But we always hear about opinions about grading and things like that, but I don't really hear a lot about collecting or grading within collections like this, if that makes sense. So anyway, I'm going to quit rambling, and I hope you all enjoyed this.